welcome back. We're going to jump into Chapter 5 of White Monster. As you listen today, just enjoy the story. You don't have to watch the screen or anything. You can just listen while you make lunch or eat a snack. And then when you're finished, summarize what you heard today. Okay? Chapter 5. Jordan's heart sank as he felt the rough, hard surface of a huge granite boulder. "It's not the car," Jordan yelled. "Keep going." He dragged Lee along. Don't let go of me," Lee pleaded. Jordan knew that they were in serious danger now. People caught in blizzards had only to stumble and fall into a snowdrift. Then very often they did not have the strength to climb out. "Over there," Lee yelled. "The antenna. I think I see it." Jordan peered through the storm. He could just barely make out a little red ball sticking up above a mound of snow. He had gotten the toy from his favorite burger joint a few days earlier. On a whim, he had stuck it on top of his antenna. He silently thanked the restaurant now for putting the toy in his sack. "You're right," Jordan said. "I see it too." They stumbled towards the antenna. When Jordan rubbed the snow off the corner of the mound, he found metal, the hood of the car. The two boys pawed the snow until they uncovered a door handle. Jordan grabbed it, pulled. It resisted him for a few seconds, and he yelled, "Come on, you stupid car, open up!" Lee stood beside him, stomping his feet and clenching the seat cover around his shoulders. Jordan's hand was so stiff with cold that he had a hard time pulling the handle completely, but finally he wrenched the door open. He and Lee scrambled into the back seat and pulled the door closed behind them. "Get those wet newspapers out of your clothes and put in some dry ones," Jordan ordered. Immediately, Lee obeyed. Then they pulled the seat covers over them and huddled together for warmth. "I'm so cold," Lee whispered. Jordan could barely hear him for the chattering of his own teeth. "Me too," he managed to say. But it'll get better. Just give it a few minutes." Even though he didn't feel like it, Jordan knew the car was warm compared to the outside. Just the breathing of the boys in a relatively small area warmed it some. "We could have died out there," Lee said a few minutes later. "I know," Jordan replied. "It was stupid to start out before the weather cleared. I'm just full of stupid ideas. I can't believe what an idiot I am." "No, you're not, man," Lee argued. "You're really smart. You were right. We had to try something. We couldn't just sit here. If it hadn't started snowing again, we might have made it." The boys were silent for a few moments. Then Lee asked, "Do you think the snow will bury the car this time? Look how hard it's coming down." "Looks like it could," Jordan replied. He didn't mention his fears of running out of oxygen, if that happened. Instead, he said, "I heard snow is a great insulator. If it packs around the car, maybe it'll make it warmer inside here. That's one reason insects survive just below the ground all winter. The snow keeps them from freezing." "Did McGuire tell you that too?" Lee asked. "Yeah, I guess he did," Jordan answered. "But if that happens, we'll still be able to breathe, right?" Lee asked, as if he had read Jordan's mind. Jordan looked at his friend, then wondered if he should tell Lee about his fears of running out of air. Lee was so insecure. To share unfounded fears with him would just make him more scared than he already was, and that could make their situation even worse. So Jordan decided that from now on, if he knew something for sure, he would tell Lee. If not, he would keep his fears to himself. "Oh, yeah," Jordan said, trying to sound confident. "This old bucket of bolts isn't even close to being airtight. Listen to the wind come through the cracks." He didn't know if he believed what he said, but it seemed to satisfy Lee. "Man, if we get out of this mess, I'm never going to complain about the heat again," Lee said. "I don't think I'll ever be too warm." "Me neither," Jordan agreed as a huge shiver went through his body. Lee reached for more newspapers. "I'm going to stuff some of these in my pockets," he said. "Maybe that'll help keep me warm." He crumpled a sports section and then he shoved them into a pocket. "What the?" he said, pulling out a knife out of his pocket. Look at this. I've got a knife, he said. You had a pocket knife and you didn't tell me? Jordan asked in disbelief. Something like that could save our lives. Guess I forgot I had it, Lee said. My mom gave it to me for Christmas last year. Let me see, Jordan said, taking the knife from the other boy. Looks like a nice one. It is, Lee replied, smiling. Mom said every man should have a good pocket knife. They come in handy for fixing things and stuff. Hey, I know. We could cut the upholstery off the front seat. Good idea, Jordan said. They went to work carving up the upholstery then, getting several rather large usable pieces of material. The effort of cutting and tearing helped warm them up. When they were done, each boy wrapped himself in a piece of heavy cloth. This is a lot better, Lee said. I think we're going to make it now. Don't you, Jordan? I hope so, Jordan said. He leaned back and closed his eyes. The lack of food, combined with the attempt to leave the mountains and then cutting up the upholstery, had exhausted him. Jordan wondered what his parents were going through right now. Were they angry at him, thinking he had simply run away to escape them? Or were they worried about him, fearing he was in trouble? Then his mind returned to thoughts of his grandfather. He remembered again the 2 weeks they had spent in the mountains. It had been early summer then. It was a whole different world in the mountains when it was summer. Everything was so green. The wild flowers bloomed and the bees buzzed all around, pollinating the flowers. Crickets and other insects sang all night. Everything had a sense of aliveness that was missing in winter. Jordan had a hard time believing it was all waiting under the deep blanket of snow that covered this area. If only Grandpa hadn't died, Jordan told himself for the 100th time. It would have been different if he had lived. I would have been different. I'd have turned out better. Grandpa was a good influence on me, not a tyrant like Dad, Jordan thought. But as soon as he thought it, he knew it was a lie. His father was a good influence on him, too, or at least he tried to be. His dad was just trying to bring up Jordan to be a good man who would have a good life. His grandpa, on the other hand, had simply been enjoying and spoiling his grandchild. It's not that Jordan didn't learn things from his grandfather, but his grandfather had never pushed it, not like Jordan's teacher did, or his dad. Maybe his dad was trying a little too hard, but at least he was trying. Things hadn't always been so bad between Jordan and his dad. When Jordan was younger, he and his dad got along pretty well. Once in a while, his father would bring up the subject of Jordan's lack of responsibility and laziness, but he always blamed it on immaturity. I'll let you get away with forgetting to do your chores now because you're still a kid, his dad would say. But one of these days, I'm going to expect more of you. You're going to have to start towing the line. But as Jordan got older and didn't change, in fact, he got worse, his dad began cracking down on him. And that's when the nagging had started. Jordan sighed. He guessed he couldn't blame his father too much. Jordan's room always looked like a disaster area. He left dirty dishes all over the house, he dropped his coat wherever he took it off, and he neglected his chores on a regular basis. He used to flinch every time he heard his dad coming home, knowing the nagging would start soon after. Boy, what I wouldn't give to be home listening to that nagging right now, Jordan told himself. Suddenly, Jordan was furious with himself. I deserve to be here, he thought in a rush of fury. This is a good place for me, out in the middle of nowhere, freezing and starving. I've got a nice room at home with my parents, and all they ask of me is to help out a little bit, get decent grades, put forth a little effort. But I can't even do that. You sleeping, Jordan? Lee asked. No, Jordan said. He thought he might fall asleep, but his anger had jarred him out of exhaustion. Are you warmer now? Yeah, Lee said. I'm a lot warmer. We're lucky we made it back here. We could be out in a snowdrift, dead. I guess somebody is looking out for us after all, huh? My mom takes me to church sometimes, and the minister there says that somebody is looking out for us, that nothing happens that isn't supposed to happen. So I guess we're supposed to be here, right? You're always saying how your mother doesn't care about you, and how you tell me she takes you to church, Jordan asked. Lee shrugged. Nobody is all bad, Jordan, he said. Sometimes my mom is real nice, when she's not drinking, that is. I know deep down she does care about me. She just has problems." Then Jordan felt silent. He had always felt superior because he was better looking than Lee, and he was more intelligent and athletic. But now he felt that, in a way, Lee was superior to him. Lee had a crummy life with a bad mom who had a lot of worthless friends. Jordan had a good, strong family. But Lee cut his mom a break. Jordan had never done that for his dad. All he had ever done was resist his father and count the days until he was 18 and be out from under his dad's roof. Jordan wondered now if he'd ever get a chance to tell his parents that he had been wrong all along. He wanted to do that. Maybe, he thought, he ought to scribble a note on a stick and stick it in the glove compartment, just in case he and Lee died there. "Dear Mom and Dad." "What are you thinking about?" Lee asked, interrupting Jordan's thoughts. "Nothing," Jordan lied. He didn't think he should tell Lee that he had been composing a farewell note to his parents in his head. That would be admitting to his friend that he thought they might not survive. It was afternoon when the snow stopped again. Jordan looked through the window for any signs of the sun. The sky did seem a little brighter. He tried to convince himself that the sun was just behind those clouds about to burst through. I still think a lot about those people in the Donner Party," Lee said. "I don't want to talk about them," Jordan said. "No, I mean how they ate their shoes and their belts," Lee said. "I was thinking if we got real desperate—" His voice trailed off. "Feel free to dig in," Jordan chuckled. "I've got a wallet, too, if you're really hungry." Lee started to laugh, but then he stopped. "Jordan, look over by the trees. I saw something move." Jordan looked to where Lee was pointing. "I don't see anything." "Keep looking," Lee urged. "There, I saw it again. It looked like a chicken or something." "Oh, right," Jordan said. "There's a chicken walking around on the snow up here." "Honest, Jordan, it looked like a great big chicken," Lee said. "It came out of that snowbank by those trees there. There it is again, look." Jordan saw it then, too. It did look a little like a chicken. It was brownish red, like a lot of chickens are, and it looked as if it was not a very good flyer. He remembered seeing pictures in one of his environmental biology books. Earlier in the year, Mr. McGuire had done an entire unit on predators and prey and the roles that they played in the food chain. But of course, Jordan paid very little attention. But he did remember the name of this chicken-like bird. "That's a grouse," Jordan explained. "McGuire said they're one of the main preys for foxes and weasels in the mountains." Lee licked his lips. "Man, would I like to get my hands on that. A big, juicy chicken. I can taste it already." Jordan could almost taste it, too. He remembered the way his mom fixed chicken, deep fried with a crispy coating of breading on the outside. Jordan could just see it frying away in the skillet. He could smell its rich, meaty smell, and suddenly he knew that he'd never make it another minute if he didn't eat something. "I'm going to try and get that bird," he declared, shoving open the car door. "I don't care what it takes. I'm going to get that grouse, and we're going to eat it." That's the end of Chapter 5 in your Canvas page. Make sure you summarize what you heard me read today, and we'll see you back here next time for Chapter 6.